So who was your favorite and be honest with me, guy, girl, whatever. Who was your favorite character? Like when that character came on One Tree Hill, which character did you go, oh, this is, I want to watch this? Because some scenes, like some shows, you go, okay, this is exposition, this is filler, it's okay. But then someone comes on, you just kind of go like, you know what I mean?
What? Hang on. Wait, are we starting? Is this official?
I'm sorry.
Well, hang on, because we have a little intro we need to do.
Oh, I was just okay, all right.
But okay, well, to answer your question, so Dom has only seen the first season, so our podcast is that here's a new person to it. I've seen it loads, and then we go through episode by episode, and Dom gives his like predictions of what he thinks is going to happen next. And then myself and the listeners, we laugh at him when he gets it wrong, and then we're secretly angry when he gets it right.
Oh, nice. Well, it does do a major tone shift after almost every season. There's slight tone shifts until the final 3 seasons where there's a huge tone shift in the show, I think.
But I mean, to answer your question, I mean, this might help answer your question. I have a Dan Scott custom-made Pop Funko right here.
He should have a COVID mask on.
There you are.
Those are great. I would wish they'd send me one of those.
I can send you one. Send me like somewhere to send it, and I'll send it.
I'll send you my address. You can publicize it.
We'll be popping around to read that script.
Yeah, right. Mars Mission Z24. I was going to say Z24. I am a Canadian, like growing up, so I still say Z sometimes.
I know almost everything about you at this point, Paul. I've researched you heavily. I can't wait to talk about it. Well, so the way that we do this introduction is so I start and say I'm Simon. I love One Tree Hill. Dom says his name, his scene, however many episodes, his scene. And then if you could introduce yourself and you can say whatever you want, I'm not going to give you
how many episodes I've seen because I've only seen maybe a third of all the episodes.
No way.
No, I've read every script of every episode of every season, but I didn't watch all of them.
That's crazy.
No, it's actually helpful.
I can imagine that's quite normal.
And I can explain it later on when we get into it. Why, particularly why I don't watch all the episodes. There's a lot of episodes that, as the character Dan Scott, I shouldn't really be watching because they lead me to be emotionally manipulated towards things as opposed to being driven by my own character's needs and wants. And I don't want to be pulled off of that. I think he has to be selfishly kind of like it's about him,
That makes perfect sense.
He's a narcissist. He's an overt narcissist.
That makes perfect sense. I love it.
It's not me. Obviously, you can see by my son. It's like I'm like the opposite. I'm an empath. All my love, all my everything goes into my family and my kids. But it's just Dan Scott was so much fun to play. But it was a lot of work.
Hello and welcome to The Ravens, a One Tree Hill podcast. I'm Simon and I love One Tree Hill.
I'm Dom and I've seen 24 episodes of One Tree Hill.
I'm Paul Johansson. I play Dan Scott, and I've seen about 70 episodes of One Tree Hill.
And tonight's episode for debate is no episode, because this is a conversation with Paul Johansson. Paul, we are so humbled and so overwhelmed that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I've listened to your show a few times, not as many as I've seen One Tree Hill. I think this was a kind of a groundbreaker in some of its ways. I was on the original Groundbreaking Kids show. I was on the original 90210 for a season. And I was hired by Aaron Spelling directly. He was an amazing man. And he sort of created the Fox channel with, 90210. I think 21 Jump Street really started it off, right? And then I think that 90210 made them a groundbreaking show. And I grew up with Jason Priestley. We moved to America together. And we're roommates. And so it's kind of, it's been a long sort of cyclical journey for me. Is your wife a fan of One Tree Hill too?
She's never seen it.
What?
Yeah, I know.
What's that like?
She's a fan of yours from Mad Men.
Oh yeah, okay. Ferg Donnelly.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's it. I was desperately trying to remember. So, because I'm not allowed to, because I've never seen One Tree Hill other than the 24 episodes I've already seen, I'm not allowed to kind of look anyone up or look anything up. And when I watch it, I think Mad Men. I've seen all of Mad Men. I've seen it a couple of times, and I'm thinking I can't remember his character's name in Mad Men. It was driving me mental. I'm so glad that you said Ferg, because now I remember exactly
right?
who you were.
Yeah, that was a real honor to work with. I'm a huge Matt Weiner fan, and I loved the cast. They're incredible, consummate professionals, and a completely different process of shooting than One Tree Hill, whereas One Tree Hill was very much kind of a machine that was well oiled, and everyone kind of stepped in, and they let the actors have a lot of leeway and a lot of we didn't have any rehearsal. It's just we walked through our morning process for what we're going to shoot for that day with the director, and got a little bit of input. But with the directors on Mad Men and with Matthew Weiner at the helm, it was for me particularly, but it was for the episodes that I was involved in, there was real nuanced input and helpfully guided performances, and it was like being almost on on the stage again, where it was very, very character-driven performance, input, and I found it to be exhilarating and really loved it. It was a little more shoot from the hip a little bit on One Tree Hill, kind of like you go with more gut feeling and kind of like, maybe I'll walk over here instead of over there. It's kind of, and you can get a little bit. It does keep it fresh when you're doing 10 seasons of a series. I think we did 9, right? You would know. I think we did 9 seasons. Yeah, you get a lot more comfortable with being able to take those chances. But on Mad Men, I was really loving the just the high level of dedication to the rehearsal process, which I was not accustomed to from our show.
I was just going to say, is the difference like, on one show you absolutely have to hit your mark and get it spot on, and the other one is you are the mark. So it's kind of the camera will follow you no matter where you go.
Right. Well, I think also that not just hit the mark part, but also there's extremely well thought out, multi-level sort of like ideas behind the dialogue and what they're supposed to do for that particular. I mean, especially as a guest star and not as a lead performer. When you're as a guest star on the show, your job is to fulfill the story and to be uplift the main character's storylines, and to really sort of like help push that along. As a lead character, like on One Tree Hill, particularly a character like Dan Scott, who was so much, the spice that you use a little instead of a lot of in the food. If you use too much, it overwhelms the palate. But Dan Scott's like these hot chili peppers. You just put it, you don't need much, So I'm always about how much am I playing, how much am I giving, how much do I want to push, how much do I pull back. Sometimes almost giving nothing is really effective as a Dan Scott character, because he's already in the audience's mind. They're expecting something. So if you give them too much, they don't have to work very hard, but you want the audience to kind of work a little bit harder. When they work a little harder, they get more invested. So when they're working to see what you're up to, as opposed to showing them what you're up to, you get them more invested in the character, and you can almost whisper as Dan Scott and be incredibly effective. Where some characters you have to yell. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And your voice is so epic and so good for all of those things. But if I can take you all the way back, so, and again, because Dom can't look this stuff up for spoilers, some of this stuff will be is news to him, which is great because he actually loves looking up and researching, but he's banned. But you had the opportunity to choose between two amazing paths. One of playing like professional basketball. You were playing with the Canadian national team, which is amazing. But you chose to go into the path of acting. So I guess, and obviously amazingly successful at that. So I guess.
Well, they helped me make that choice. They, right before the Olympics in '88, they cut me. So it was very helpful of them to I was poised to go to the Olympics. My father and I were expecting me to make the team. I trained really. I could get into some really intense stuff, but the truth of it is I don't look it, and I certainly don't characterize it, but I'm a diehard romantic. When I fall in love, probably like both of you guys, I fall. Like I jump in with both feet and I'm in love. And I had been traveling with the national team I think we're in Israel and then Greece, and then we're playing in the Maccabea Games, and then some tournament in Europe. And I had come home and I had found out that, the girl that I was living with, that I was in love with, that I grew up with in high school, was not the person that I should be with. And I kind of and then I had to go back in 2 weeks for the pre-Olympic training period. And I went back and my head wasn't in it and my heart wasn't in it. And during that time I had, dabbled earlier in these thing called theater sports back in the 80s, which was a sort of a groundbreaking place for Canadians, Second City and that kind of stuff all came from comedy. And I was working on, just for fun with some friends that took me, I was working on becoming, improvisational comedian, doing acting scenes that the audience would throw you ideas and you do those scenes. And I was doing that. And I put myself on tape for a couple of these things and just for fun. And when I got let go from the Olympic team, to not be able to go to Korea in '88, this guy called me and said, hey, look, I saw some of you on tape. I think you might have something, and I want to bring you down to Los Angeles. And I'm like, what? Like, who are you? Like, what's your name? Like, what do you want? Like, I didn't trust it. And I had to call around and ask people, like, is this normal? Like, this is weird. And he flew me to LA. And I literally left my car, my apartment, all my clothes, all my 20 years of basketball trophies and jerseys and everything. And I just brought a suitcase. And when I got down to LA, he goes, I'm going to put you in acting classes, singing, dancing. I want you to start in a theater group. I want you to do this, voice lessons. And I was like, disciplined from basketball. And I went, yeah, I can do that. And I kind of, I never went home. I mean, that apartment, I don't even know what happened to it. The lease must have gone up. My car was sitting on the street. I don't know whatever happened to it. I literally never claimed any of that stuff again. I have none of my books, all my college stuff. I don't know. I just left. I ended up going back, obviously, to see my family and that stuff. But I literally walked away from my life to come to Hollywood. And this young kid came in from Vancouver, who I had met a couple times in Vancouver in acting situations, and Jason Priestley, and he moved in. Well, we moved in together with another friend, and then we kind of just apartment hopped and started our careers. Jason got on a series called Sister Kate, and then he got on a show called. He came to me one day with a audition for a series called Class of Beverly Hills, and we rehearsed it, and he went and he got the job, and I went on and did, I think, Soap Dish, the movie, Sally Field and Kevin Kline and Whoopi and all those guys, Downey. And then ended up doing a series called Lonesome Dove, doing a bunch of TV movies, and then got onto another series and then another series. Those days were crazy days. So that's how it kind of got me to be. But, I'll tell you how I got the Dan Scott part. I used to play basketball in Hollywood, and because I was a former basketball player, I was doing all the commercials. I did commercials with Magic Johnson, Tim Hardaway, just did a lot of basketball commercials. And so I was in all these E-leagues, entertainment league basketball games, and I was playing, and I was kind of cocky. I remember guys like Clooney throwing the basketball at my head, or other people getting mad at me, or, we were all we're all sort of young and aggressive. And, I'm just this cocky guy dunking on people and talking smack and thinking I'm like this and that, and young and dumb and all this stuff. And I just was kind of a little bit too full of myself a little bit back then when it came to basketball. But I loved it. And I just wanted everyone to know how good I was, because some need in me was to try to prove, it. Because I don't know, maybe it was just insecurity or something, but some things that young people do. And I remember playing with Brian Robbins in a couple of games, and he was really sweet. Brian Robbins is the show was the executive producer of One Tree Hill, and he'd seen me play basketball, and he saw me on the court not take anything from anybody. Sometimes even throwing fists in situations where I thought I was being, intentionally someone was trying to hurt me, so I'd stand up and I go, and anyway, when I went to audition for Dan Scott, I literally went in and I walked out, and I think I had a really good feeling about it. When they had me screen test, I think I screen tested against the guy that was in the original Karate Kid. No, not that guy. It was another guy. What the heck was his name? Wonderful actor. He ended up playing Hillary Burton's dad, but he was the other guy that was up for Dan Scott.
Is it Kevin? Is Kevin Kilner? He played
one of. I've worked with Kevin. No, this is a different. I'll remember his name in a minute. Really nice guy, sweetheart. And I was reading the script and I was like, going, gosh, I really want to play Keith. This guy Keith is like cool. He's like, he's like, the art of motorcycle maintenance and the Zen master guy. That's a cool part. I want to play that part. He'll be the guy that like everybody will like. And Brian Robbins was like, no, you don't want that part. You want Dan Scott. He goes, trust me, you're up for the right part, because he'd seen me play basketball. He knew how aggressive I was and how intense I was, and that I was, from the son of a great hockey player who was like really intense on me and all the other things. So I auditioned for it, and he came out right before I went in for the final audition in front of the network, and he said, "You've already got the part." He goes, "Just be you. Just the guy that I met on the basketball court. Just be that guy." And I did, and I went in, and it was really a life-changing part for me. I miss the show. I miss the days and the grind. It got hard for a long time, because we were young. We were trying to make a hit show. We didn't know how successful the show really was, because we were in this little bubble in North Carolina. We didn't know that around the world it was like, kind of like, it really was getting huge. I think in a way the producers liked that we didn't know how successful it was, because we would ask for more money.
well, now that we're getting into One Tree Hill, I'm getting a little bit.
Sorry for that long amble. I just wanted to give you a background of how I got the part.
I just need to be ready here now, just in case Whitey's here and he needs me to come onto the call.
Oh so no!
Let me just get ready here.
Oh my god.
The whole time we've been sitting here thinking, he's wearing a really bright blue top under there. I wonder what he's got on.
Nice shirt. That is a nice shirt.
Now we can talk about it officially. But now that I'm dressed.
Love Whitey. How great of an actor is Barry Corbin?
Well, this was actually going to be my next question. Is you have great chemistry with all of your castmates, but was there one person in particular that you really enjoyed sharing scenes with?
Yeah, there was a few. There was quite a few. Obviously, I'm great friends still with Joy. We talk almost every day. We're very, very close friends, and we each have 9-year-olds. She has a 9-year-old girl. I have a 9-year-old boy. We're both single parents, and we do our auditions together quite often. We call each other and discuss making choices in our careers and life, and we sometimes spend holidays together, and we barbecue and hang out and swim together. And she's a phenomenal actress, and I think the truth is that I think I was mostly attracted to being around her because of her incredible, I think, skills as an actress. She's got an access to her emotions that seems so authentic when she's working, that it seems almost seamless when she transitions from one emotion to another, which as a director, I thoroughly love watching. It's hard for me to watch people work at generating an emotion, which I find to be, very off-putting. It just means that either they're not connected to it or they haven't properly prepared themselves for the scene. And I'm tough. Like, I'm a tough director, especially when I'm friendly with you and we can just talk shorthand and we don't have to do all the niceties. We can just go, no, you're trying to bullshit me. Come on, let's go. Let's be real. Like, whatever we do, let's not lie. Like with this scene, let's just tell the truth and the scene will work. It's not your job to sell it. It's just your job to be truthful. Just be truthful. And those kind of conversations you can have with people like Joy, who are really get it, But I loved working with James because he's a genius in his own right. James is so smart and such a hard worker. He's got that new series on Hulu that's really killing it. And everyone's doing great. And that's just because his work ethic is just unbelievable. He is a very hard worker, very smart guy. I knew he'd be super successful. And him and Coletti are both, really killing it with that. I'm so proud of both of them. And I love them both. Hillary sent me her book, which was unbelievable, and I love Hillary. I would really admire her. Her and I didn't always get along. We're both really sort of similar personality types. So sometimes we battle, but we always hugged and loved each other. And that's what you want in your friendships, right? You don't want people to agree with you all the time. Chad and I had some rough patches in our working together relationship because we approached the work differently. But, he's turned out to be an incredible father and hardworking guy, and just really proud of him, really proud of Chad. I'm really close to Brian Greenberg is my buddy. I'm Barry Corbin. I try and keep in touch with him. He's a busy man, but he's a sweetheart living in Texas. And Danielle, her husband and her are just like building an empire. Apparently, they've got like so many fingers and so many pots. It's just fun to watch Jensen and her kill it. And there's so many of us, right? I'm probably forgetting. And Sophie's doing great. She's become very political, right?
That was a great answer. Your scenes with Craig Sheffer are always stand out as well. Man. Such great chemistry.
Craig's a genius, man. Craig is almost like you'd look at him sometimes, you go, this guy's like, is he even present? Like, what's going on? And then you do a scene with him, and I think we were really lucky to get Craig Sheffer on that show. I was actually, when I read the script, can I say it? He hasn't seen it.
I was going to say, Dom, can you just take your headphones out for 1 second? I'll tell you when to come in. I was going to ask you, how much notice did you have, of when much. What was your first reaction? Like, were you into it?
When I read that script and I saw that was going to go down, I honestly called the producers and said, I don't want to do this. I didn't want to lose Craig, because he was incredibly, it was the only person my age and sort of like had been through what I've been. We just played brothers in a movie in Africa like a few years before that. And I just didn't want to lose him from the show. I just thought it was too expensive of a cost to the show to kill that character off. I thought it would be too, but it, truthfully, it saved our series from being canceled. That episode, we were going to be canceled. That episode brought so much attention to the show that the network couldn't cancel us, and they wanted to get rid of us because they had changed president of the networks, and they wanted to, and they always clean shop when the new president comes in, wants their own stuff, but they couldn't get rid of us after that show because we were just too much attention. I didn't want to do it, and it wasn't because I didn't want to do the shooting, and it wasn't because of I didn't think it was a good episode. I thought it was spectacular. It's because I really love Craig, and I didn't want to not go to work and see him every day. So,
well, it is an amazing moment. An incredibly emotional part of the show. But it really accelerated and propelled your character into the next stratosphere of being the supervillain and one of the best TV villains of all time. Now, I'm not just saying that, it's true. But did you?
I got a lot of threats. I got all kinds of stuff going down. I got on an airplane one time and they moved me because some young girl with her parents in first class was crying because I was up there. I just offered to go back and sit, farther away because she just couldn't handle it. It really was scary for a lot of, because there are young people that watch her show.
Well, were you happy with the redemption arc? Because, it is earned. You do get the redemption right at the final moments of the end. Were you happy that it went full circle, or would you rather he was left as the villain?
No, I think that it's the most beautiful gift an artist can be given is to have the full. There's a thing that we do in acting. When I first started acting, I still use now. Stephen Book taught it to us. He's an acting coach that had some amazing actors in his, from Carla Cucina to Maura Kelly, great actors that I was training with when I was younger. And he did this thing called the life cycle, where, it's a way to keep in touch with your emotions, but it's a whole cycle of your life. It's birth, youth, adolescence, old age, death. And you go through that every morning to give yourself a full emotional sort of armament to take into your battles as an actor. So they're right there in touch. This character did the full arc of life, from his sons finding out about his other son, finding out about their rivalry, then their camaraderie, then they join up against him, then he loses, then he gets a grandson, starts all over again, builds a love with him, loses his grandson, loses everybody, and then at the very end, he fights for them, not for himself anymore, which he always ever done is fight for his own beliefs. And finally, he dies with the revelation that they have forgiven him for all that he's done. I couldn't ask, and I think I'll never have another role like it. And I'll never, and we have to remember this, all the credit goes to, and I mean this, I can take credit as an actor for this stuff, but all the credit has to go to the creative team that put that show together, because that is a gift that I hope as a writer, and director to give to other actors one day. I am beyond grateful that Dan Scott got to die with his family around him, loving him and forgiving him. I think, and by the way, I've never watched that final episode and not teared up. And it's me, it's like, and I played the part. But, to be fully candid, the day that I shot my death scene was the same day that my mother died. Oh, so when my character died, while I was shooting Dan Scott, I got out of that bed, I went and picked up my phone, and my sister called me, and she told me, your mom just passed. So there's a crazy connection to my life that show has. And if you see at the end of that episode, it's in loving memory of Johansson. That's from my mom.
I'm really sorry to hear that, but that's nice that it tied in, and she, you got to dedicate that to her.
Beautiful that you did it. I'm forever grateful.
And your character development is my favorite of the whole show, and it always was from the beginning. And now Dom and I, let me bring him back. Yes. Dom, come back. Dom.
Should we tell him we were talking about him the whole time?
The whole time, just making fun of him. You were really rude, Paul. I couldn't believe it.
At first, I thought maybe you're planning birthday presents for me or something like that.
I have one question for you, Dom. Let me ask you one question.
Sure.
Do you think that Dan is in any ways irredeemable? Look what he's doing. You're in season 1, so you see he's a selfish, blank. Do people like that ever change, or do they always stay the same? You are Warren, aren't you?
At the beginning of the season, I thought, this guy is ruthless. This man is pure business. Relationships and things like that don't matter unless it comes down to
people like that in real life.
Probably not to that extreme, but there's people that I know that are fairly ruthless, and literally their sole focus is work, and that's it. And this is where I need to go, and this is how focused they are on that one thing. And a character like Dan is, I'm focused on that and pushing my son and getting him to that level so that he it's kind of, I want him to be better than me, but I don't want him to be better than me is the vibe I always get from Dan. And the further we get into the series, the more I actually start to think he's not the bad guy he's been made out to be all the way through the beginning. So he's done some pretty nasty things, and he says some really, really great but nasty things to pretty much every character. But gets to that point at the end, and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. We've just found out from Karen that she refused access to Lucas, and we find out from Deb that she's had an affair, and we find out this, that, and the other, and we find that Keith then goes and sleeps with Deb, and it's sort of Keith never knew the truth, so Keith has always distanced himself from Dan and never asked Dan that question. And you start to think, actually, maybe Dan has been made that way. He wasn't always that way. We know that he had a difficult relationship with Royal from the one episode that he's in so far, and I can't help but feel that. So part of my predictions is throughout it is I've seen the first 2 episodes of season 2. So the heart attack has happened in hospital, and it's, look how beautiful the sky is. I'm so sorry, Deb, about everything that's happened. I've not been a great husband, yada, yada, yada. And I kind of feel like it's all building up to I've got you exactly where I want you. And that's what he's all about. It's all about control and controlling people.
Or not. He might have changed, Dom. You don't know.
I don't know. But I kind of feel like I've said from the beginning that a character like that needs something. They need to defy death to be able to change. And then the heart attack has happened, and I thought this should be happening in season 5. This shouldn't be happening in season 1. So to me, is this? We weren't sure if there was going to be a season 2, so we need to put this in now and make that happen. I wasn't sure, and now we've got to season 2. I'm thinking, it's too early. It's too early to be nice. It's too early to now have that complete flip and go, I understand that life is short, and I understand that I need to change and I need to build bonds and connections. So I kind of feel like the character is going to build those connections to use them to his advantage. That's kind of what I'm reading into it anyway.
Well, it's a masterful web, I will say. You seem to capture it quite well. You're right exactly where they want you from the writer's point of view. So I'm not gonna elaborate on that, but you're right where you should be.
Oh, thank you very much.
You agree?
Yeah, and you can see the fun we get to have on the podcast from the perspective of knowing what happens and then seeing when he's really right or when he's wrong, like both ways. It's so much fun to, and I envy him. I wish I was in that position of not seeing the show. But Paul, you actually, and Dom doesn't know this, but you directed 14 episodes of One Tree Hill. And you direct, you write. I mean, how was that experience? And did you find it difficult to balance acting in the episodes that you were directing as well?
No, not so much. I think that, as I said, we became sort of our own family out there. We were there together for so long. And it was, it can be a little bit difficult when some cast members start directing because, you have to find ways to, I think, when you're trying to help somebody find a performance or help them find, just even simple things like blocking or movement, you have to be careful to remember not to step on other actors' toes because they have their own ideas and you want them to have their own ideas. But there's a case of expediency in television. We have a certain amount of money, a certain amount of time. And so you try to incorporate as much as you can. But there's times you have to say, it's a great idea. We just don't have the time. Can we consolidate these ideas and make this more efficient and quicker so we can get this day because, everyone needs to go home and we have to, because of budget things, whatever. So you've got to find your battles. And usually the battles that I picked, which is what gave me, and I mean this humbly and appreciatively, gave me the opportunity to direct so many episodes was that the battles that I chose to fight were always for emotional values. That when the actors needed to get somewhere or wanted to explore emotional values, that I would fight for them for those. When it came to things like, more desultory stuff like I want to run over here and open this window and then this will happen. And then I want to take this. And like all that movement's not pushing the story forward, but what you're thinking, what you're feeling are. So let's focus on that. I try to push for emotional values in a show like this because the audience is the connective tissue in these characters is relationship, and the connective tissue in this relationship is emotional. So that's the way that I wanted to do it. I think in a perfect world, you'd be able to explore all this stuff, but you just don't have. We're not David Fincher. We don't have $100 million. We have a certain amount of time and a lot of actors to shoot, a lot of coverage. When you have scenes with 10 lead actors, everybody needs a close up. That scene's going to take a long time. So, because you got to get the cameras set up for everybody's close up, and you got to get coverage, and you got to have different size, and you got to have movement. So, it's it really is. But it's different now. I directed a bunch of the Van Helsing episodes for Netflix, and I took a lot of what I learned from One Tree Hill in there in terms of like trying to be efficient as a director and move quickly. But, there was more action in those things, and there was makeup and there was special effects and stuff like that. So it was a wonderful learning curve. And so, I don't know. I think that I would love to go back to acting. I haven't been acting a lot because I've been really focusing on developing my own projects. I've got some films I've got going, and I've got a series that I'm trying to put together. But if someone came to me and said, hey, we're going to do a Dan Scott spinoff. No,
we've actually talked about trying to write a Dan Scott origin story.
He didn't really die. We never went to the funeral, did we? Oh yes, we had an open casket funeral. So I you probably know that. I'm sorry. Did I just do this?
Oh no, I've seen that bit. That's fine. Okay, well, in the beginning, that's cool.
Yeah.
We've discussed a Dan Scott like younger years, like
that's what I was thinking. You want to take it back to you want to take Dan Scott back to high school with Karen and Deb and create a series, sort of a prequel. And I think that would be kind of a cool 80s kind of like retro show. However, it's tough. It's tough.
You kind of run the risk of basically just recreating One Tree Hill, but in the 80s. That's the problem. Is because some of the
true.
storylines are fairly reflective, so you don't want to kind of
Yeah.
fall into that trap, I suppose.
Unless you go really sort of like Riverdale with it, and go out there. You know what I mean? Which I don't know if that's really appealing, because you're kind of ripping off another genre. I don't know. Maybe it's been done. I mean, maybe it's I mean, you could do it's like they did Pride and Prejudice Zombies. You could do a One Tree Hill zombie version. Again, Scott comes back as the leader of the zombies trying to take over the town. And Nathan and Lucas lead a battle to fight Dan Scott's zombie army.
The Pride and Prejudice zombie movie was actually filmed a couple miles from where we're actually
right?
sat right now. Yeah. But I mean, he can hear this part, but the easiest option. I mean, as much as I think that would be great because you'd get the original characters, but I guess it would, the way that the show ends, it does lead it into a way that if you picked it up like 10 years later, it could kind of go again.
Yeah, I think the kids would probably be into it. I mean, I think a lot of them would. Do you remember the poster where all the kids are laying on each other? That kind of like that big posting, and the older version, the older person version. Yeah. I remember that we weren't really, the older actors on the show weren't being included in any of the publicity. We weren't being asked to do tags, weren't as we doing like anything, and they wouldn't bring us in for photo shoots. We were just kind of like left to do everything. It wasn't a big deal, but I just thought it would be really funny to do a mock-up of that poster, and they did it, and it ended up being, we sent it to the network, and it ended up becoming quite a big sort of like thing. It was really, and Barry Corbin kills me in that. Have you seen the poster?
Dom hasn't seen it. I will send it to him, but he will love that. But it's funny that you say that, because so Dom and I, we've known each other our whole lives, but so when I watched the show for the first time, I said I was like 22, 23, and I was kind of relating more to the younger characters, though they were younger, but in real life they were probably like that sort of age. And then now Dom and I, we're both 33, and we're in very different times of our life. Like, I just had a baby, and we have wives and girlfriends, like separately, not wives and girlfriends together. But, and now we relate to Dan, to Keith, to the older characters, and they're the ones that actually take our interest, watching it at this age. And I think the show was really clever that way, and it being layered so that the audience is kind of larger. Did you find that? I mean, did you feel you had as much fandom as the younger characters?
Different. No, nobody had as much as Chad, and I think Sophia were really, Joy really had Hillary. They really had huge, and they still do, huge followings. I think the people that were gravitating towards my character understood that a lot of it was just either fascination or revulsion. But it is funny, what would have, it's hard to figure out a show that you guys would maybe remember, but like Dallas without J.R. Ewing, or any TV show without the villain becomes fangless and without any teeth and without any claws. And, Dan they kept me around on that show for the full run because without the tension, I think that you just sort of fade off without gravity, and I think that Dan pulled that whole show together in some ways. I mean, I don't mean it. I mean, there's a lot of drama, and there was like deaths, and there's drug abuse, and there's all these other things, but, there has to be the foil, you have to have it in there. I do think that the one thing about the Dan character that has always been the most fun for me was that I never tried to play him as a bad guy. I always tried to play him as a guy, which you kind of quickly touched on, is not misunderstood completely, but that his way of trying to love was about preparing people for life in an honest way, as opposed to, this helicopter modern parenting protective bubble stuff. He's like, accountability. He's about, sacrifice. He's about discipline, and all those qualities of the World War II parents, that I just missed because I'm a little bit young for those. But our great grandparents were the especially over in England. I mean, what they had to do to survive, to keep your country. I mean, I know sounds a little bit overly sort of like, rah, but it isn't. The sacrifice, the commitment, they starved themselves. They gathered rubber for the troops. They did all the things they had to do. They bought war bonds with their last money. They had discipline that we will never understand. We're all worried about wearing a mask right now. Those people were dying. They were getting bombed every night. They had to take all the children out of London. It's like, and so we're taught, Dan Scott's from that generation of like, whatever it takes to survive. And to people nowadays, that's as intimidating and threatening and scary and mean. Well, you know what? We're around because of those people. And so that's the way that I kind of played him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, I think that we've said on the podcast a lot, it's like Dan is unable to show his vulnerabilities to other people. So in the first season, there's a lot of Dan being vulnerable in private, like in the car, practicing a speech he's about to give Deb. And then he walks in and then he sees Keith is, with Deb. And it's like, but he can't show that vulnerability outward, to other people. And it feels like Dom said, he is like a misunderstood character. And when there's a lot of Dan in an episode, we always rate it higher because we love the character, we enjoy it, but the way that you play it is so good. Like, you give such a solid, great performance. The show would not be the same without you. And I think everybody loves to hate Dan, and then some people just love to love Dan. So
yeah. Well, I will. I'll take that as a compliment. I try to give as much credit as I can to the writing staff, who really sort of helped guide this character's growth. And as you will find out, it's never boring. It's never boring. But again, and in a strange way, this hasn't been said very often. And I'm just sort of like, I'm anecdotaling and throwing stuff out there, if that's okay. I'm not just thinking.
Please.
Our show was actually was really a female-driven show. The best, most interesting stories and characters were our women. I truly loved watching scenes with Joy and Sophia and Hillary and Daniil and Yana. And I loved, because I thought that they wrote our women in a way that gave them power, and that they weren't victims, and that they were, I kind of loved, and even our female cast members exemplified that off the set too. We had a very, like, to be honest with you, they would, if there was some cause that, happening in Wilmington, North Carolina, there was a hurricane, or there was a family that needed money, or there was something going on, it was our female cast members that were leading the charge. Like, we were just, oh yeah, okay, yes, we should help. Like, it was kind of nice, to be, it wasn't, anything that I'd been used to, and it was refreshing and nice. And it's what I miss, I miss those friendships because of the good in those people that I worked with,
Well, 9 years on a show is a long period of your life, so that's definitely going to feel like that. Sorry, go on, Dom.
I was just going to say,
Daphne and Barbara too. I keep leaving them out, but Daphne and Barbara too were extraordinarily, and Moira as well. It's just that we weren't all together for all 9 years, so we kind of split it up in groups like that. So.
I was just going to say, when you watch the pilot as a first time watcher, you think you think this show is going to be very Lucas centric, and this is how it's going to go. And I'm going to watch 9 seasons of Chad Michael Murray kind of like squinting at a screen. But what you actually get is exactly like you said, the focus on the female characters and as well as, touch points and other characters. But I kind of try to pick out like a characteristic of each character, or what their main sort of characteristic is. And Simon often says that there's nothing supernatural about this program, but it still draws you in. But there's something that each character has that's kind of their signature power. And one thing I always say about Brooke, as an example, is that she kind of sees everything. She kind of notices everything, and it's all there. And she's the one that picks up on things and mentions things and kind of gets, all that information and uses it to her advantage, and then can relay what she wants to relay. And you kind of see, obviously, the creative side of Peyton and how she uses that to her advantage, and how that helps her mentally, and then how that has gone to help, other people and their experience with the artwork. Because again, Simon has to explain it to me and send me stuff and show me, but he always pinpoints the moments where that art is significant, and lots of people have it on t-shirts and it's tattoo worthy and it's everywhere. And Bethany Joy Lenz, or Joy, I believe you call her, her sort of just the intelligence side of it and how smart she is. And you can see that translating from actor to character to audience member on the screen, and how she portrays it across. And you really do feel that vibe from all of them. I mean, every other character, like obviously your character and Whitey in particular as well, is someone that just knows everything. He knows everything, but doesn't use that to his advantage. He just knows. And that's such a cool place to be. But yeah, the female character point is such a good point that you made. I think it's really important.
It's so funny you bring that up. And I just want to tell you how impressed I am by your observation. I think you have really captured something that I've never been able to capture before. And I really like the way that you phrased it and put it. It was really digestible. Thank you. It really helps a lot. And now you can, you're too smart for this podcast, so you got to go, and we're going to.
Oh, great! But I'm not. Thanks, Paul. I'll just stay here.
No, you're the charm and the friendly, and No, I'm teasing. I'm just teasing. But I do want to say something about what you said, because there's something I want to click on, and I don't know if this is relevant to the fans or not. But anybody that wants to be an actor, I want to just relay some advice I got about playing Dan Scott from my roommate at the time when I just after we'd moved out, my friend Holt McCallany. Holt stars on a series called Mindhunter, which is probably still out there. I don't think they're doing it this season. And Holt's been in all these movies. He's in the new Fincher film. He's in Greenland that's out right now. He was in Sully. He's been in everything. You know who Holt McCallany is. He's a fantastic actor. And when we were living together, we were always auditioning for stuff together. He's become a huge, huge star now. And one of the things he said to me, and one of the advice that I took into this character, Dan Scott, which you might be able to see once I tell you what it was, let's say that you're auditioning to be a homicide detective. And so you've got your audition in front of you, and you're going to go in and meet the producers. Your job, what Holt's theory was, which I've been doing for 25 years now, is whatever it says on the page, you are the best homicide detective ever. If you're a fireman, you are the best fireman ever. Dan Scott was the best basketball player ever played at One Tree Hill. Dan Scott is the best father you will ever meet. It's like the whole thing is like whatever you don't have to yell it, but the point is you embody that whatever anybody comes to you, you already know it. You're in the know. So all the secrets, like you can in your eyes when someone tells you something, it's like, yeah, I knew that. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I understand. It's like you're not, the only new information you get is what you experience. But when someone tells you something, it's like, no, I got this. Thanks for the information. Thanks for being late to the game. I already knew that. You know what I mean? It's always and what it does is it kind of colors your performance a little bit to give you kind of like a little bit of arrogance, which is always something. So when you're on a camera, you don't have nothing. You want to have something. And so what I love to play was this, I'm in the know. And when you said that about like they seem to know everything, Dan Scott knew everything. And that was what you liked about him. It was like, oh, this guy's up to something. But, it's just a particular way of playing the part that gave me that sort of like, I'm on the inside of the inside, and I'll let you people know what's happening when it's time. It's like, and that kind of like in the know is scary, because it's knowledge is power. That's all I was going to tell you.
So what you're telling us then is that we need to approach this like this is the best podcast you've ever been on.
Well, it actually may be.
I think it definitely is.
I mean, look at this hair. How can you go wrong with that?
Your Holt McCannally impression was spot on as well. That was pretty.
Oh,
good.
You know Holt?
Yeah, I have to say, well, I've watched Mindhunter a few times, and he's the best at sitting behind a typewriter and never using it. It just seems to sit there and just not want to write this report. Fuck the FBI, I'm out of here kind of person. It was brilliant.
We lived together for a long time. We were both single Hollywood dudes trying to make a living in Hollywood. And he right after I broke up with a girlfriend, I moved in with him, and he was such a nice guy, such a sweetheart. We met our both mutual love of boxing. It built our friendship. And one day I would get up in the morning, and it was the last day of the month, and he was going to ask for rent. He was so nice that he couldn't just outright go, "Hey man, it's rent. Can you give me a check?" I'd wake up in the morning and go, "Paul, at the end of every month, traditionally, we drink a cup of coffee. I just made some fresh coffee." I'm like, "I'd love some." He goes, "Great. Living together has been really good. I enjoy, we both have a room and a roof over our heads. And do you want cream? Because I've got cream. Would you like some cream with that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure. Love some cream." He goes, "So, we've been working and I know you're doing really well. I'm glad to hear that. This is a very expensive house, by the way. Do you want sugar? Because I have some sugar over." I'm like, "Dude, do you want the rent? Is that what you're going?" It's like, he just couldn't get himself to ask for the rent because he's so nice.
That is such a great impression. That's spot on as well. It's so good. What a great story.
It's okay. I got this month. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. We just go for a run. Let's go for a run. It's just the greatest guy. I don't know. I have by the way, I've had, been in LA since 1980, and it's a long time. And I've lived with some very interesting actors, and it's funny. Like one day, I will never write a book because I would never embarrass anybody. But I just hate all these stories to die with me. All the thoughts in my head. I start talking about the things I can't say on a podcast. But you can imagine.
You should write a book. Well, actually, Dom, close your eyes for a second. We have a copy of your book.
Yep, that's right. That's true. By the way, I think those were interesting years, right?
Oh yeah. We'll have to get you back when we get to some of these points if we're able to, because there's some. Well, this actually brings me on to one of my questions. So, okay. Do you have a particular favorite episode or like moment of One Tree Hill? That you were in. As a two-part question. And did you ever did you take any props from the show? Like, do you have any props at home that you've kept as like mementos or anything?
I got some stuff. Yeah, I have Dan Scott's driver's license, which nice. I've actually pulled out. It's a North Carolina driver's license. It says Tree Hill, North Carolina, which doesn't exist. And I actually showed it once. I don't know. I think they asked me to show ID to get into a bar. I think it was in London or something like that. But anyway, they didn't know what it was. I've got Dan Scott's the coach jacket when I coached the Ravens.
I got to just stop you there. In just 2 episodes ago, that is what happened. And I said to Dom, and I said to all of our listeners, I need that jacket. Where do we get it? I want it made. So that's so funny that you have that.
And by the way, I'm auctioning it off soon.
Are you really?
Yeah, I want to raise some money for autism. Yeah.
Just tell me the amount you need. Don't bother with an auction. I've got you. What do you want?
Well, we can talk about it. Let's just contact me on the thing. Maybe we can figure out something. I've got tons of scripts, originals from first episodes. I've got I find stuff all the time. Those posters and clothes. Stuff. I can't even remember. I think I have. I just found the other day my Boondock Saints badge when I was on Boondock Saints 2. Like, I don't know if you ever saw that movie. I keep finding stuff. I got stuff from, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. I don't even know what I'm probably going to get rid of all this stuff. I'm in a new phase in my life where I'm mostly writing and directing. I definitely want to act some more. I will be honest with you. I think, the industry has changed a lot. A lot. And when you don't get in the room and meet with the directors and show them how you can take direction and bring, a lot of yourself into your characters, stuff like that, I think it's hard on tape because we're sending tape for stuff now. You know what I mean? The new series is casting and they want to see tape. And so you send them a tape and it's like, you're in your underwear in your living room and you're sipping coffee and your son runs through the shot and you're like, use this? I'm supposed to be on Mars. Life is pretty strange as an actor, but it's lovely. I want to also say that I think that we have looked at if you look back at a lot of those episodes and you see what's kind of happening in the world now, I think that One Tree Hill did touch on some foreshadowing of sort of like things where accountability for predatory behavior and all the other things that are happening. I think we were really ahead of our time in some ways. I really liked that. I liked that they were touching on sensitive issues early, because I think a lot of young girls grew up with this show and didn't really know how to like harness their power. Or maybe that's something that we should be doing a better job with society. I'm raising a little boy right now, and even that, there's some of the things in One Tree Hill that I learned by playing Dan that taught me, to take a step back before I talk to him when something goes wrong or he isn't behaving the way that I think would be, healthy. And I just think of, like, I don't think I'm not a yeller normally, so it's not my way. I'm completely opposite of Dan. Like you met Quinn. So the Dan Scott version of raising a child is just going to create somebody that's shaky and insecure because they're always going to be overjudged, as opposed to empowering them with, finding, well, what's an alternative thing you could have done in that situation? Why did you do it that way? Explain it to me. Where'd your brain go? And then he talks to me about it. I said, well, did you get the result you wanted? So we talk through behavior, and it's not something that Dan would have done. And I don't know if I would have been this way had I not had that experience of seeing, that on screen, how Dan affect, does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
And you're a parent, so you'll be there.
Well, my son is 7 weeks old today, actually.
Well, it's never too late to play basketball. Let's get that. But I have to tell you something, because this is my favorite advice to young parents, especially if you're like a dad. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
My son and I have a very special bond, and it was because I believed that, although I wasn't with his mom, we co-parented together amicably because we both really wanted to raise a child. But my goal was to get up every morning before her and get him up and let her sleep in. She's got a big day. She's breastfeeding, right? She's got to take care of the kids. There's an emotional connection. She stays up, feeds in the middle and all this stuff. So I get up really early, like 5:30 or 6, when he was your son's age. And maybe 16 weeks. I waited a little longer. And then I got a baby Bjorn, things where you hold them in. And you face them towards you when they're that young. And I get outside. The first thing, I warm up a bottle because we froze breast milk. Do you guys freeze breast milk?
Yeah.
Extras. I took a bottle with me and I put it in a warmer. I put it in my pocket. And we just get out of the house and we go into nature because they're up. And every leaf, you take a leaf off a tree, you take a rock off the ground, you put it in their hand, you let them feel it, and you talk to them about it. They hear your voice. They get tactile. They feel the fresh air. And you go for like an hour walk every morning, just you and your child. And you can feed them, and sometimes they fall asleep. But just getting up early and getting out in the air creates a bond between you, because the mother's bond is different. It's that nurture. It's this incredible love. It's their life. It's their lifeblood. So I wanted to create my own bond with my son. And mine was like nature and I and you, let mom sleep. We get back. She's waking up. She's refreshed. She feels good. She hasn't heard the baby whining and crying. I've taken care of it. And then at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, the day starts and I can work. You know what I mean? It's just my favorite thing.
I love that for so many reasons. I mean, firstly, I just love all of that because we've been trying to do that. We have a Labrador dog, so I like to try and walk and do the baby Bjorn. But also, you wouldn't know this because why would you? But you actually look a lot like my dad in real life. And he's a good-looking guy. He's a good-looking guy. So but I'm dressed like Lucas or Nathan right now. So I feel like. In a universe where Dan is like an amazing father, you've just given me some fatherly advice. So thanks, Dad.
Well, I'm sure you'll find your own way, but that works for me. And
no, that's lovely. That's lovely. I really like that. Thank you.
Well, get him into a relationship and get you to have some kids, right? Aren't you ready?
Me,
yeah, Dom.
Yeah.
Well, when me and my girlfriend, sort our lives out and get married, then we'll sort out the children side of things.
All right. It is a life changer, isn't it? Don't you think?
Definitely, yeah. And an outlook, perspective changer in the best possible way.
It softens you, but it also gain so much wisdom. Like you're taking care of another life that's not yours, and it's just whoa. The earth shakes underneath you after that.
Well, speaking of your son, I mean, how much does he know about Dan Scott? And would there be what age would you be comfortable with him watching One Tree Hill, or you wouldn't want him to watch One Tree Hill?
Well,
Like, how does that
I'm
work?
going to get in a lot of trouble for this, but he's never seen an episode, and not because I wouldn't let him. I would let him. In fact, I let my son watch stuff that's probably, for some people would say isn't suitable. But my son wants to be like Elon Musk. His dream is to be a scientist. He doesn't watch cartoons or anything like that, and never has. His interests lie in astrophysics, metallurgy, chemistry. He watches documentaries almost exclusively on YouTube. And sometimes, he watches, movies that are, about, space time, things like that. So we can get sort of a grasp, but he can explain things to you that I wouldn't know understanding, how, the sun works and fusion and all that kind of stuff. He gets really into it. It's his dream to come up with a new power source for Earth other than, just wind, solar and fossil fuels. He wants to come up with what he thinks is possible, which has never been done, which is a perpetual motion machine, which is one of the designs he's working on in his room. So he does this stuff. He's not, and he's just, so what I try to do is feed his interests, and I don't try to force things on him that aren't his preferred interests. And so, when COVID ends and we can do things, he wants to apply for the Elon Musk School for Children, which is sort of a scientific-based school for Mensa students. And he's extraordinary. I mean, but I'm obviously I'm an artist. I'm built from a different grain, and my job as a parent isn't to make him like me. It's to let him find the best him, and whatever that takes. So that's the way that I work with him. So he hasn't shown an interest in the show, other than he does very sweetly sometimes when people come up to me or him, and we were back before COVID, when we were in a mall or something like that, and people would go, "Oh my God, you're Dan Scott!" And Quinn would go, "Yeah, he was Dan Scott. He was Dan Scott. Hey, that's my dad." It's and he'll yell it, and people start. I'm like, no, don't. It was he thinks it's funny, so
that is hilarious. To be fair,
yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, we were lucky to just meet him for a second just before, and that's absolutely phenomenal. And sounds like he's making me feel bad about myself.
Yeah, he wants to do a podcast, but I think so. What I don't do is I don't let him interact with people on the internet. I mean, I don't allow him to have chat rooms. I don't allow him to be involved in them. His mother and I shut all that off on his computer. He doesn't have to interact with people until he's at a point where he can, be able to make some more mature decisions on who's appropriate to talk to. That's all. That's the only thing that I'm very careful about.
It's great that he's so, he's got that intelligence, and again, he's incredibly creative from literally a snapshot of talking to him and talking to yourself as well.
In that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Just he's got script ideas, and he wanted to join us on the podcast, and he wanted to talk about this. And fine, yeah, we'd love to have a chat with him as well. It'd be great. And well, I've actually got a small recommendation. You can tell him, you can not tell him. I don't mind. It's up to you. You're his father. But there's a podcast over here on BBC, or anywhere actually, on BBC called The Infinite Monkey Cage. And it's by there's a guy called Professor Brian Cox, who's quite a famous physicist over here.
Yeah, I think we've watched Brian Cox before.
Oh, okay, cool.
And The Infinite Monkey Cage?
The Infinite Monkey Cage, yeah. It's him and a guy called Robin Ince, I think it is. And it's kind of, Robin Ince is like the comedy guy and the funny one, and Professor Brian Cox brings the science, and they have guests on and stuff like that. And it's actually a really interesting podcast. So if he's interested in podcasting and the science side of things, he give that a go, and then he can create something from there.
We'll definitely check it out. Thank you. We definitely will.
Try.
He's totally into that. Yeah, I think Brian Cox is hilarious, personally.
He's great.
He's dude. I think he was actually interviewed by Joe Rogan too, wasn't he? I think I saw him on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Probably.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah. Imagine you were cast in One Tree Hill when you were younger, and you had the choice to play Nathan or Lucas. Which character would you have wanted to have played?
Well, I think I am more Nathan. I think it's just because of my my basketball background, and and that I'm more deliberate in my ways. I think Lucas was more artsy and Nathan was more deliberate, and that's the way that I'm reading them. Don't you guys think?
Yeah.
And so I think that I was more towards James's character in my personal ways. So I think it would have been that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the right choice for me. I mean, I'm not to say that I'm not like. I just think that Lucas was more driven by emotions in his choices, and the way that my favorite writers write, some of the best writers in Hollywood, and I listen and I read a lot of scripts, is you see that characters are defined by what they do, not what they say. So you can and a great writer puts a character in a situation where he has to make a choice, and that choice is the information that tells the audience who that character is. So if you give a character like Dan Scott a choice between doing this or doing that, whatever he picks tells the audience who he is. So as opposed to him talking and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you make him make a choice. And so that's how you define characters. And I think the choices that Nathan made, he wanted to be an NBA, he wanted to do this. He was very responsible. And when he wasn't responsible, it was a thing. Where Lucas was always irresponsible. He messed up this, and I forgot to do that, or I should have called her. That's just two different kinds of characters, Does that make sense?
Yeah, very well put. Very well put. And talking of writing, so Dom won't know this, and this is what IMDb tells me, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you've written a script with Nick Cassavetti, who plays Dietrich Dom in Face Off. The bald Dietrich in Face Off.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, what can you tell us anything about that?
Sure, I've written 3 or 4 scripts with Nick. We've been best friends since 1989 when we met, or 1988. I think 1989 was the year his father died, John Cassavetes. Nick and I have written a bunch of scripts together. He's, in my opinion, maybe one of the top 10 writers in the business. He's a genius. He directed The Notebook, John Q, Alpha Dog, the other
John
woman.
Q. You were in John Q. I forgot to mention it. I love that movie. I love that movie.
Denzel Washington, right? Man,
yeah.
One of the best actors there is. Probably the best actor in the world, if you ask me. I think that, writing with Nick has been really, I've grown a lot. And since One Tree Hills ended, Nick and I have got a lot of projects together. We have a movie that's just about ready to pop. It hasn't been announced yet, so I can't give too much details, but it's based on a novel written in the 80s, a true story about a Hollywood cop. And that one's cast, and we're just waiting for COVID to kind of give us a window to jump into it. The one that I think you're referring to, because we just wrote another one together. The one that you're talking was Have You Seen Her? Is that, I don't know if that's the one that you're talking about.
That's it. That's what it says on IMDb. Yeah.
That's it with Metalworks in New York. Yeah, that's an old story that Nick came up with many years ago about a New York couple that are about to get married, and instead of proposing, he gives her earrings and she flips out and runs away, and he chases her to grief. But we also wrote another one just recently that we're doing with Patriot Pictures, is called Tear Down This Wall, which is a true story of Peter Schlenkow, who put together the concert with David Bowie and the Eurythmics, and right in front of the Berlin Wall in 1987. Which led to the cultural movement, which brought down the Berlin Wall. It's a great story about his battle to get that concert put up so that these Germans, people on the other side of the wall, could hear live music, and because rock and roll and everything and long hair was all being, really clamped down on in East Germany. The Russians were really not interested in the American and Western culture infiltrating their steel wall. So it's a great story, and we just finished that one. And we've got lots of fun projects together. By the way, just to go back to Face Off for a second, I have that jacket that Nick wore. You remember the leather jacket? Hold on a second.
Oh my God, we love Face Off.
He's gone.
So
I know exactly.
That Nick wore in Face Off is right here.
Yeah, I know exactly the scene it's in and everything. That is crazy.
That's the jacket. And Nick a movie just premiered on Sundance the virtual Sundance Film Festival that's going on right now. The movie just premiered with Nick Cage and Nick Cassavetes, first time together since Face Off. It's a fantastically visual film. I quickly tell you what it's called because it is out of this world.
I love Nicolas Cage.
Oh, this movie is supposed to be off the hook. Let me see if I can find it for you. It's right here.
I can't believe you have the Face Off jacket. That's
I know.
cool.
It's just, I mean, if you want to put it up for auction, let's make some money.
What?
Go to autism, right?
Simon's very, very, very quickly running out of money on this podcast.
You run out of money? Simon, come on. Hold on. I'm just going to search Patriot Pictures real fast because it's Nicolas Cage and Sofia Boutella star Prisoners of the Ghostland. And it's starring Nick Cassavetes and, hold on, Prisoners of the Ghostland. Sofia Boutella, Bill Moseley, Nick Cassavetes, and Sundance. So I can't really show much of the. So just read the little thing here where you can find it on. To go to the Patriot Pictures.
I'll put a link in the description for everyone. So let's all check that out and support because that's awesome.
In the treacherous frontier city of Samurai Town, a ruthless bank robber, Nicolas Cage, is sprung from jail by a wealthy warlord, the governor, Bill Moseley, whose adopted granddaughter, Bernice, Sofia Boutella, has gone missing. The governor offers the prisoner his love. So this is sort of a breakdown on the storyline there. Prisoners of Ghostland, supposed to be incredibly visual and just so they're teamed up together again.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Stuff going on.
What's next for you? Do you want to stay within like the writing, directing, or is the itch there to do more acting, or like where do you want to go?
I'm getting the itch back. I haven't really been focusing on acting for the last few years because I wrote 4 full film scripts during COVID, which is an incredible amount of work. I'm about to start another one. And I'm loving it, but I really am getting ready to want to act again. I mean, I'm hoping I find a nice project to fall into, and that will appreciate, the kind of dedication I like to bring to my parts, and this, you guys have been really generous and really, really appreciate all your compliments about this character because it means the world to me. Honestly, it does. I don't say that without. It's just I'm proud of the work I did, and I'm grateful that people appreciate it.
Well, it's more than appreciation. Like sincerely, that show completely it impacted on my life, as I'm sure it has with many other people. And then Dom, sincerely speaking for him, but he's going to agree with me in a second, is sincerely really enjoying the show as a first time viewer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every episode.
Let me quickly show you the jacket, okay?
Please. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna have to sell some stuff.
Is it? Oh no, sorry, that's not it.
Oh wow!
Just throwing an Emmy around.
Yeah, just hey, I'll look up just paperweight Emmy,
Okay, here we go. It's in here.
I need this jacket. I need it. I'm keeping all of this in the podcast.
Oh,
it's fine.
What you should do is get the jacket, and I know you want it for you, but is get your dad to wear it
and take a picture.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And I could wear this next to him.
Yeah.
Like,
Brilliant. Yeah.
With the Chad Michael Murray mask.
Yeah. I'll sit in the back with the guitar. I'll be Jake somewhere.
No, you have to be Whitey.
Oh, excellent! I'll shave my head.
Oh my God, there it is.
Yep. There it is.
And it even had so good.
Oh my God.
Right?
It's so good.
I haven't worn this since the show. Nathan, get out of there and play defense. In there for Nathan.
That's excellent.
I love it.
So good.
I love it. I'll be messaging you after this.
Not bad, right? It's beautiful. Actually, it's in great shape.
Yeah. What size is it? What were we saying?
It's, let's see.
What she said, it's in great shape as its owner is as well. I have to say.
Oh, thank you. 2XL.
That will work.
You can keep the baby on the inside, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's amazing. I love that. Well, I don't even know what else to say. I'm a bit overwhelmed still, to be honest.
I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys did too.
Oh, we had so much fun. I know you have a cameo, right? So everyone get involved on the cameo. We'll put the links to that below. We'll put links to your social media below as well, which is great to follow you on, and it's nice to see you put little things like trips and stuff you're doing. With your son.
Come in here if you want to talk.
Speaking of. No, I was saying it's not so nice to see you, parenting on there, and there you go. There was some of it right there. So. But we're just really grateful for your time, and it's been an amazing experience. And thank you so much.
I loved it, and anytime we'll do it again whenever you want.
Oh, that would be.
Thank you so much. It means the world to both of us, and Simon absolutely adores you, and I'm coming to adore you because of your character and the way you perform, and this conversation is you're fantastic. So thank you so much for your time. It means a lot, and your son is great as well. I hope he continues on his path to becoming the Elon Musk of the future.
Oh well, whatever his destiny is, I'm just happy that he's healthy.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice talking to you guys. Anytime.
Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Take care. All the best.